number one, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And congratulations on the new series, Cross. I've seen the first three episodes already, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, great. I'm so glad you like it. It
Well, my
was a
first question for you is, what made you decide to sign on that dotted line and become a part of this project?
Well, I was already a fan. I had seen the movies and I mean, I already liked the Alex Cross, character, and the thought of it being a TV series just was exciting. And then when I read about my character, she's a lot of fun. She is smart and she speaks her mind, and she's tough, and it just seemed like a lot of fun to play a character like this. And so I was all for it.
And that's interesting because my next question was, did you know much about the character when you first signed on?
Not a lot, they give you a little blurb about her, and I don't think they said too much, but enough for when I read the scenes, then I was like, oh, okay, this is good writing. And it also felt like I would have room to kind of develop the character and bring something to it. And that's what they told me when I was on board. In fact, they wanted me to bring some humor to the role, and that was an exciting and fun thing to be able to do because it is a dark show. So it's nice to also bring the levity that we sometimes need.
That's interesting you said that because watching the first couple of episodes, the one word that stuck out to me was dark. It is a very dark show. How would you tell fans to deal with that darkness when it comes to watching this series?
Well, I think there's also a balance because you get to see the love in the household with the Cross's family. You get to see the brotherhood with him and his partner Samson, which I just love. I love seeing those two black men seeing their friendship on screen because I don't think we see that enough. And I think they have a beautiful relationship. You get to see him and his love interest. You see him with his coworkers. And so I think those relationships and the bond that they have, to me, balances some of the dark things that of course happen in a crime thriller. And then, I'm able to bring a little levity sometimes with some of my lines, and so yeah, I think there's a balance. And so I think that can help you get through the dark times.
When playing a detective like this, did you get a chance to talk to some detectives, do a ride along, anything like that, preparing for the show?
That sounds fun, but no, I did not do that. However, I watched a lot of 48 hours and shows like that where you get to see detectives and all of that. And so we already, me and my husband, we already watched those types of shows.
Yeah.
So this time I was like, okay, let me look in detail and see what they're doing here and how they move and how they talk to each other and interact. And um and so I think it proved to be pretty helpful in making me feel comfortable in the role.
Can you talk about having Aldis Hodge, who I think is a fantastic actor? It's really underrated. Can you talk about having him as a lead on the series and what it was like working with him on this series?
It's wonderful having him as a lead because he's so talented and so smart, but also just really a humble guy. He's funny. We had a lot of fun on set. We came there to work and we worked hard, but we also played hard. We laughed and had a good time. And like you said, when you're dealing with this dark material and all of that, it's fun that even on set we were able to crack jokes and act a fool with each other. And so yeah, I was really happy working with Aldis. He's a great lead. He really is. I'm excited for everybody to see him in this show. I think we're seeing things we've never seen from him, and the audience, I hope they love it.
What I think is great about this, you mentioned earlier, yeah, this character was involved in several movies with Morgan Freeman and Tyler Perry playing the lead character. But now having this series, I think what I've enjoyed so far is you get a chance to really see this character fleshed out. Not only just his character, but the characters around him and his world. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is, we do have the characters from the book, but also there's like a new world, a new setting, new crimes, new, so we have some old familiar things, and then we're bringing new current things for the audience as well. And so I think it's a great molding of the two.
The series has already been renewed for a second season. That's incredible.
Thank you. We've actually already finished the second season.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a great thing. And I think people will love that one as well. You know, all the good stuff you had in season one, you're gonna get that and more in season two. So
Well, that was actually my next question. What can the fans look forward to with the first season of the series? Not only with your character, but with this entire world.
Um, they are going to be taken on a ride. I mean, they're going to be following this crime, trying to figure out what's going on, who's doing what. And I think that part is thrilling. And then they get to see these relationships between people. You know, these friendships and familial relationships that will go through their challenges and their ups and downs. And so there's like a lot of moving parts, a lot of different stories being told. And so I think that's the fun and the interesting part of this show. There's so many things that you can love about it. Really.
Moving to something else. I'm learning about you and doing some research about you. I've seen you in some of these episodes, these shows. You've done like guest appearances on like New Amsterdam, SWAT, Young Sheldon, and The Good Doctor.
Mhm.
To name a few. And I'm curious, when you go on set as a guest star on these like well-oiled machines, are you a little nervous stepping into that world, even though you know you're going to be there temporarily? Is there a little nervousness stepping on set for shows like those?
There used to be at first, and I used to almost try to make myself be small on set, like not get in the way, not, just do my jobs, kind of stay quiet. And after a few shows, I realized, no, I'm here because I have something to offer. They wanted me on the show, and these are my peers. And so whether I'm working opposite uh who did I work? Viola Davis or Christian Bell or who, like it doesn't matter who I'm working with. We're here together to do a job. And so I've begun to bring that confidence to set when I work, and I think all actors should do it, whether you're a day player, you only have a few lines or whatever you're doing, even an extra, whatever you're doing, you are an important piece of the puzzle. So stand in your confidence.
Years ago, I was sick for a little while, and I ended up just laying in bed watching TV, and
Mhm.
my mom got me addicted to Days of Our Lives.
No,
And
it's
you had a
good.
small stint on that show. Can you talk about the differences that you saw between, I mean, there's obviously some obvious differences between the two, but being on the set for like a television show and then being on the set for like a soap opera? Because there was an actor I talked to named Lance Henriksen who did soaps for a while. He told me he had to forget everything he learned when he was on a soap when he went to work in regular television and regular film.
Yeah. Soaps. I first off, I grew up on soaps. My
Thank you.
grandmother, my mother, we
Yep.
were all, yeah, we were all ABC. So it was One Life to Live, My Children, General Hospital. So I grew up, even before I could talk, I was watching soap operas. So it was an honor to be on a soap opera. And let me tell you, and I love those actors because they do so much. Sometimes they're playing the evil twin, and then there's something like they do so
Then I
many.
have amnesia the next day. And
Exactly, exactly. So they do these outlandish storylines, but they do it with such authenticity, and I love those actors. And what I found is that they work really, really fast. Like there's a lot of material, and you do like one or two takes, and then you're moving to the next. Whereas TV, you can have hours to do a scene, and you're changing and you're doing this and you're finding that, and there's so many different angles. not for soap operas. They have multiple cameras. You do it a couple of times and you move to the next scene. So you got to nail it. It's like a play pretty much. Like in a play, you do
Mhm.
it and then you move on. That's what it's like for soap opera. So I really respect those actors.
You earned your MFA at the actor studio drama school, which was incredible. I love that inside the actor studio. One of my favorite shows to watch. Can
Thank
you
you.
talk about how being in that prestigious institute helped you and molded you as far as your acting?
Sure. Well, I remember watching Inside the Actor Studio before I decided to go to school for acting. And I was like, wow, that would be so cool just to be able to soak in that knowledge. And then being at the actual school was even better because those interviews that you see on TV, I guess it's like an hour or so televised. It's like 5 hours in
Yeah,
real life.
yeah, yeah.
So we're getting so much knowledge. Actors are like starting from the beginning and going all the way through and just giving us all these little nuggets. And I got to see Al Pacino and just Jane Fonda, like so many greats. And, just getting these little nuggets from them and putting it in your little toolbox and hoping and praying when you start working that you get to use some of them. So it was pretty awesome.
I think what's incredible about you and your career is you had such an everyone has their own path when they become an actor. But obviously we mentioned this earlier. You were a lawyer first, and then you
Mhm.
decided to just switch it up and like, I'm gonna be an actor. Was there
Yeah.
like a voice in your head, or did you just know when you started becoming a lawyer that this was not for you?
Well, it's funny that you use the phrase "a voice in my head" because that's literally what happened. There was a voice in my head. Um, I I had done a mock trial where I kind of dabbled in acting because we would pretend to be each other's witnesses, and so I got into the role, and I was like, "Huh, acting is fun." I never really knew that, and then a play came to town, and so I auditioned for Dorothy and the Wiz, and I did that, and I got the part, and it was great. But these were all like hobbies, like a fun thing that I did. I never thought that it would be a career. But then on the first day of working at the law firm that I worked at, we were taking a tour, and I can remember it so clearly. We were standing in front of the library, and I heard a voice say, "This is not your life." And I
Wow.
had no idea what that meant because this is what I had been working towards, and I was happy to be there. And after a few years, I was like, oh, that's what that voice meant. This is not my life. And so then I started thinking about all the things that brought me joy in my life, regardless of whether it could be a job or I would get paid. So I was like writing down dinner with family and friends and traveling. And then I was like, oh, it was fun when I was in that play. And I liked when I did the moot court thing. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll try acting. So I quit my job, moved to New
Wow.
York, and got a master's in acting. And that was that.
That's a hell of a leap.
Thanks. It
It's
felt like the right thing to do.
It's interesting because over the years of me doing interviews with actors, I kind of put them into two buckets. There's the actor who says, "Look, if you're going to be an actor, it's nothing but acting, nothing else, no backup plan, just 1,000% acting." And then
Mm,
I talk to actors who say, "Hey, that's great, but it's always nice to have a backup plan just in case the acting thing don't work out." But then bucket A says, "Well, then that means you may not take it too serious while you're doing your acting." Blah blah
mhm.
blah. What are your thoughts? You're a perfect person to ask that question. What are your thoughts as far as that goes?
Well, maybe I had both buckets in that I started off being a lawyer, but when I became an actor, I didn't look at being a lawyer as a backup, even though I guess in reality it always was, but I didn't look at it like that. That I felt like that was my past, acting is my future, and that's what I'm working on. And so after I graduated from acting school, I did practice law like half part time. I would do law during the day and do plays and musicals at night. but they knew that I was an actor. And I told them if I have auditions, I got to go. Like they understood that acting came first. And they were very, very sweet. They came to my shows. They were awesome. But then when I moved to LA after a couple of years, like I never practiced again. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm doing. I'm going full steam ahead. And, I mean, in general, it's always nice to have a skill that you could fall back on, but I didn't think of it like that.
So do you see yourself, one of my final questions, do you see yourself in the near future moving into like writing, acting, producing? Do you see yourself dropping yourself in all those other buckets in the business?
I'd love to. Those are things that I am interested in. Writing in particular, I think would be pretty cool. Directing, I think I'd like that as well. And so we'll see. Hopefully, those things will come into fruition as well. We'll see.
Have you been on Law and Order?
No, I
We need to get
haven't.
you on Law and Order.
Yes, I would love to be on Law and Order. I think that was one of the first auditions I had when I was still back in New York. I auditioned for Law and Order SVU or something like that, and I got a call back, but I had moved to LA, and I was like, I'm here now. It was a small bit part, but
Hey,
it was
it's
just
on your resume. Hey.
exactly. Well, I wanted it to be. I didn't get it, but it was a cool. It was nice. It was nice to even be asked to be a part of that family. Everyone loves Law and Order. So
Law and
yeah, there's
Order is like
yeah.
comfort food. That's a comfort food show.
You got that right. I love it. I love it, and all the different renditions. I love them all.
And um, what would you say, since you've had your own interesting path, what would you say to someone who's interested in becoming an actor? What advice, if any, would you give someone who said, Stacie, I think I really want to be an actor and I love what you do and now I want to do it. What advice would you give to that person?
Study it. Go to school or take a class, read about it, get the tools that you need so that you can be confident when you show up on set. Um, I think some people think that acting is, I guess, you could just show up and do it. But I think training does help. Even if you have an innate talent for it, it still is good to get that formal training so that you can even cultivate your talent even more. So I highly recommend that you get the training as well.
I think a lot of people see the glitz and glamour and Denzels and all these actors, and they think these people are just, famous like that. There's a lot of rejection in
Oh,
that
yeah.
business. And how do you handle that rejection? Because there's a lot of it.
Well, how do I handle it? Faith. I realize that what is for me, what's not isn't. And so when it's gone, let it go. Even when I do an audition, I try to let it go immediately because to hold on to everything, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So do your audition, look at it like a performance. I perform this role for you. Maybe I'll get a chance to do it again, maybe not, but let it be its own thing and then move ahead. Also have other things in your life that are non-acting related.
Right.
So I like salsa dancing. I used to do that all the time, and it was a great way to just take acting off of my mind so I won't have to be thinking about, whatever audition. So, and remember, it's not your life, it's a profession. And so for me, what's more important is my family and my friends and my faith. And so that comes before everything. And so if you keep things in priority, you'll be able to take the rejection because good is going to come. You just got to be in the game to win it. So don't give up.